Hello, everyone. Welcome to this episode of The Den. Today, we're going to be talking about leadership in real estate. A lot of people don't realize that as realtors, we serve in a lot of different capacities. So today, we're going to talk about leadership roles, how we've served, and how we've helped make the community better in real estate, but also our local community, but also talk about some of the ins and outs of leadership as a whole. So stay tuned for this episode.
The Den, powered by the Lyons Group, a show dedicated to exploring hot topics in real estate, local happenings, and industry trends. We're a small team of professionals approaching $400 million in sales and nearly 2,000 local transactions. You're listening to time-tested experts and industry leaders. Here's a refreshing look at real estate happenings and more. Welcome to The Den.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to this episode of The Den. And today we're going to be talking about leadership in real estate. As realtors, we have the opportunity to serve in a lot of different capacities in leadership roles to help with our real estate community, to help our local community, our state, and on the national level. And we're going to talk a little bit about that and what that entails. So before I get to that, let me introduce my friends, my partners, my co-hosts, the fellow members of the Lyons Group. To my left, Paul, Hammy the Rockberry, Aspen the Ninja Gruen, and the boss, Shannon Martin Martinez. My name is Ben Lyons, and I'm the host of The Den, top brokers taking on tough questions. So today, leadership in real estate. Now, from the general public looking at us, they may not realize that we have different tiers of real estate that we deal with. We have our local association, we have our state level association, and then we have the National Association of Realtors. And on each level, there are opportunities to serve in leadership capacities to help move our industry forward. Oftentimes, the purpose to serve is to help propel the industry forward for our buyers, for our sellers, for our clients, for property rights as a whole. And so today we're going to talk a little bit about leadership and its capacities. And we've got all kinds of leadership here at the Lyons Group, which is awesome. We've got a former president, Paul Berry, who also serves on a lot of committees, have served on a lot of committees here locally, but on the state level, you are now the Northwest District Vice President of the state, which is fantastic. That's awesome. You may end up moving up and serving on the national level at some committees or some form.
Let's slow down there a bit.
Yeah. Let's bring that down a notch. Yeah. And we've got Aspen, who is served on numerous committees. You also serve in other capacities as well with the YPN, and you've been an instrumental part of YPN here locally. But also you are president-elect. So you are going to be the president of our local association here next year, which is fantastic. You're right in the fray. I mean, you are right in the mix with all that. And then we have Shannon, who served on the board for many, many years, served on committees. You've been the secretary-treasurer, which puts you on the executive committee. So you've been part of the decision-making process for many years. And then myself, I just avoid any type of responsibility altogether. So
the plaque saver.
Yeah, plaque saver.
Right. You got a lot of plaques.
Let's go over the thing. 3-time Realtor of the Year.
No, let's not do that.
Yes, let's do that. Yeah. You got to go through yours. You went through ours.
So I was president.
Yep.
I was president, and then I was Northwest District Vice President for, I want to say 4 or 6 years, because I filled in a part of a term. And I served on the national level on some of the committees for the Realtor Political Action Committee. I was the state chair for RPAC for the Realtors. So I've done a few things. It's been an interesting ride. And so stop.
They've asked him to be on the Real Estate Commission. They've asked him to be president
of the United States.
The United States.
No, United States.
No, New Mexico.
Yeah. And
he's got a big head already.
I have politely declined. So, because, So what do they say? Unfit for the duties served. So let's talk a little bit about, so Aspen, you're coming up here as president-elect. You're going to be president of the local association next year. Talk to us a little bit about what is involved with leadership, and I call this servant leadership. I mean, you're familiar with that term. Talk to us about servant leadership and why you put yourself up to this, because it's a lot of work.
So I did not put myself up to this. No, what was it, 3 years ago, Paul, was it when you were president or when you were president-elect? I can't remember. Elect, yeah. So, about 3 years ago, he was like, hey, you, and we weren't working together. And I was like, no.
Yeah.
And,
Adamant,
no. Yeah. And then someone had stepped down from the board, And I was asked to come in and just fill in a spot for a few months. And that's how they get you.
Yeah.
It really is. And it's the same as living in a community. Same with like this kind of a business. I want to be involved. I want to donate time, donate money. I want to put in the effort and work to make it the best it can be. And, really kind of give value to what we are doing here. And it is a lot of work on the back end, but not anything that's impossible or too taxing, or they wouldn't ask, everything of you. Like I think sometimes, especially when you're donating time to like the community, it's the same people doing it and you can be asked to do a lot. When it comes to real estate, it can get to be there, but I think it's easier to set boundaries and say, okay, I'm going to do this committee this year. And it kind of gives you a little bit more term limits instead of just doing it forever.
Yeah, the perpetual serving. So what was some of the committees that what have been some of the committees and what have been some of the more rewarding ones?
Yes, I got YPN started here 2 years ago. It's a very involved committee, but I love it. It's so fun. And then I started on luncheon, which is just planning the different things. I also started on strategic plan. I wanted to know a little bit more on the back end. Oh, geez. I'm on
budget.
Yeah.
Budget. And then I'm on boards, or not boards. I'm not the board. I'm on committees in Durango as well. So scholarship, a little bit of everything through these years. But this year, I actually, whenever we were filling out the things we had to be on one of them, I wrote, take me out of this one. Because I was like, I can't do it anymore. But
was that little squiggly like whoop thing? Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's really rewarding. And I don't think you need to jump into something extreme, but just get started on something, YPN is super fun. It's a lot more work than a lot of the other committees, but it's very fun.
Can you explain to our viewers what YPN is?
Yeah, so it's the Young Professionals Network, and we actually are through the National Association of Realtors, so we got it all done through there. That's why it took about a year to get it going. We had to get it approved with our board, and we're actually still doing stuff on the back end to get it to be a nonprofit status. So we're doing a lot of different things, but what we do is we consider us like a hand in hand with local nonprofits. So we're not the one that's getting things, we're the one that's helping other nonprofits. We have a ton of awesome local nonprofits here, and we are just here for helping hands. So just getting the Realtor Board more involved in the community, which I think a lot of the committees at the San Juan County Board of Realtors and the Durango Association is just, you're doing stuff internally, to do your checklist and make sure the business is running as a business should. But YPN and community service really is about getting out into the community, and love that.
I love that. I love that pairing up. And I was okay to say that you basically seeded YPN here locally. I walked that back a little bit because I didn't know if there were other people involved, but you were pretty much the spearhead for that.
Yeah.
Which is fantastic.
There was one through the chamber years ago, but this one is actually through the national.
And that's maybe what I was thinking about. So this is through the NAR, National Association of Realtors, which is directly, obviously, in line with what we do as realtors. So Shannon, talk about how impactful maybe serving can be for you personally, and what we do for the association as a whole, and what we may do for the community.
Well, I think it's important for us to serve, first of all, within our board, because like you said, you learn the back end of things. You understand our industry better. You understand what goes into being a realtor and representing that realtor R. You understand the importance of our role in the community. So when we are giving back to our organization, I feel like we are learning more about how we can be better, how we can better serve our community and better serve not just the realtor community, but our San Juan County community. I think that what people don't really understand, maybe outside of the National Realtor or local Realtor of associations, is how much work we do to better our community. We're constantly fighting for property rights for these buyers and sellers. We are constantly looking at showing up to planning and zoning meetings. We are trying to make our community better. Does this make sense for this neighborhood? This is going to cause a problem here. We definitely try to be involved to better people's lives. And there's a lot of work that goes into it. There's a lot of work, whether you're just, sitting on a budget committee, you feel like maybe you're not doing that much, but that part is helping things continue to run, which is helping us serve the community better. So I think that sometimes people take for granted these little jobs. It is a lot of work. It is a lot of time. It's a lot of effort that we could, of course, be giving to our family or giving to our real estate career. But if you're serving in those capacities, you are moving the industry forward as a whole. You are helping propel things in the direction that you want to see it going. You can actually have a say in how those things are going. And I just think it's very impactful. It's impactful for us individually when you're serving, the knowledge that you can take away from it, just the bonds you can form with other people in your community, as well as the impact you're having to everyone outside of you, whether it's your realtor community or the San Juan County community. You are making things a better place when you do it.
I love that because you really are. I mean, and you're working with the people that are doing the majority of the work typically. So, I mean, it's the old 80-20 rule, right? Yeah. 20% of the people are doing 80% of the work. And I think that's fair to say in the capacities in which we serve, that now all of a sudden you're on a committee, but you're on a committee with people that are moving and shaking, that are making things happen in their community, in their business, in their personal lives. They're the people that are typically driven, but it is rewarding to serve and see the impact that it's having on the community. Paul, you're on the state level and you've served there for a lot of years now. Talk to us about leadership at the state level, how that may be different. I mean, those are complicated decisions that impact thousands of realtors, and they come down quick, don't they? Those meetings, they call a vote, and you're one of 6 or 7 people on the executive committee. You better be prepared to vote because it moves the ship one way or the other.
I agree.
Yeah.
No, I think at the local level, we kind of know each other pretty well. We know the issues, inside and out because we're dealing with them every day. At the state level, we want to have a voice for this county when things are being made for the whole state. Those are high level decisions, and we don't know all the people that are getting affected. Like we have 250-ish members here. We have almost 7,500 in the state. So our decisions are a lot bigger. We're dealing with, we'll take paperwork, for instance. We just approved a bunch of new forms at the state level. At the local level, we're going to say, how do we use these? At the state level, we're developing and say, how should we be doing these things? The money is a heck of a lot bigger. There's a couple more commas in what we do at the state. And those are, we talk a lot about what's going on at national and what's coming down for us to do. And then from the state level, we go down to the local associations. But yeah, you're right. I was in that room for the first time last week, and you need to know what you're doing. You need to be prepared, and you need to be able to stand up for yourself and say, I disagree with this, or we need to do this for this reason. You definitely have to be ready to be at odds.
You cannot be asleep at the wheel.
Yeah,
in those meetings.
And you cannot get rolled over either. Yeah, they're consequential. Like we've made decisions that actually change how this industry works in the state. So
you come in prepared.
You have to be ready. Yep.
Yeah. And I like what you just said. I mean, you don't want to roll over because you get some strong-willed people in these committees and on the board and they just, want to force things to happen where if you just, you staunchly disagree with that, you have to have the backbone to be able to stand up and say, I disagree and this is why. And I may be the minority here, but I'm going to voice this because oftentimes when you do that, you realize you aren't the minority, that this was just going to go off the rails. Yeah. And you were the sole voice that stood up.
Started it and everybody goes, yeah, I actually feel the same way. Yeah. That's what happens a lot of times.
Paul and I have talked about that a lot. And even just Bryce and I were talking about that last night. Like, we could be so much more likable if we would just shut up, but just can't do it.
Yeah. That's a great quality, right? I mean, what teachers usually say, there's no dumb questions, right? Because they understand that you may be thinking the same thing that everybody in the room is. You just need the confidence to be able to stand up and say it.
One of the things that I equate or relate to the word leadership is the willingness to be in a room where you don't think you belong, with a lot of people that have been there a lot longer, have a lot more experience, know this stuff more thoroughly than you do, and being able to say, hold on, I have an issue with this, because then me as a representative of San Juan County, I'm up there going, that's not what we want.
Yeah.
And I'm adamant about this. I will not vote for this. And here's why. That's courage and all that kind of stuff. But I equate that with leadership ability than just being, I'm in charge. Yeah. You do what I say.
I think that can be frustrating, though, because I would say pretty much everyone is strong-willed whenever you get to a certain level. And being okay if you don't get your way, too. Knowing you stood up for what you thought, but sometimes you get outvoted. It's happened to me where it's been close, but nope. And you just have to know that, you know what, we're here for the majority. We're not here for individual, which I think can be hard to learn, where you take it personally and it's not personal. It's not personal at all. It's just a decision that was made and you have to stand by it, even if you maybe don't agree with it.
Mm-hmm. Well, and then she makes a great point, because every time, like when I was president-elect, we decided something. When I was president, we decided something different. It's kind of the whim of the board at that time. I mean, we can take things certain directions, but sometimes you're on the winning side, sometimes you're on the losing side. And I always say, I don't want to be the decision, but I like to be in the conversation. And I think that's what makes a better leader is to say, it's not always me. It's what we all can agree upon and move forward.
Yeah, and that's really a great point. You're not in a position where you should be holding grudges. I mean, because if a vote doesn't go your way, it doesn't go your way, and that's okay. I mean, I always like to equate it to, if you get in the ring and you duke it out and you lose, and that's okay. At least you went in there and you went swinging, and that's okay. There's always the next battle, right? But the most important thing is that you stood up and you said your peace of mind, because I think that's the rub that people get into, is that they get into these committees and these leadership positions, and they don't have the courage to stand up and say even something that they think is silly. I've heard comments before where people say, I think this is silly, but I want to say this, and they say it and everyone's like, yeah, I agree. Yeah. Well, why weren't we talking about this earlier?
I think you have like two personalities that you get in these a lot of times. And what you're talking about is where you should be. You've got the people that come in there with an agenda. They have a clear vision of something they want. They're going to go in, they're going to knock some people around and change things up and get it how they think it ought to be ran. Or you have the people that think, I'm just a warm body. Okay, I'll run, I'll be involved. I'll show up and I'll second whatever they want me to. And you're really not being impactful. But I think that's where you can be impactful, is being that person that says, I'm going to give my voice. Even if you are the newest person in the room and you think they all know far more about this. Well, maybe they don't know your perspective. Maybe they hadn't considered that perspective. Or that's the great thing about having new people too, is you have a fresh perspective. If you have the same people that have served on the same boards for 10 years and it's just kind of circulated around a small group of people, they kind of all got the same ideas. They're all on the same page with things. Sometimes they need that someone to mix it up, or that someone that comes in and has a different idea that goes, wow, I've just never thought of it that way. And even if they disagree, it's okay, but you've thrown it out there and you've planted a seed for change in people. And I think that's what's important.
Well, I think another thing that's important in leadership, you said it earlier, is servant leadership, is encouraging people whose values you see would equate to great leadership. And one of the best decisions I made was asking her to join, because it's, you've done a lot of good.
Thanks, Paul.
You're welcome.
Yeah. And in all fairness, with servant leadership, I mean, that's when we talk about that, we talk about servant leadership. It's someone that's willing to go out and grab the shovel and lead the way. They're in the ditch. They're digging. They're serving their community. They're serving their association. They're doing what they can, but they're leading with actions. It's not a leadership position isn't someone that comes in their true leadership position that sits at the table and says, do this, do that, and the other. It's someone with a shovel in their hand that's really grinding and making a difference. And so, in all fairness, in your year as president, you put a stamp on the association. It was pretty awesome to see all the things that you accomplished, Paul, all the things that worked well together as an association. We came together and supported a lot of the things that you were implementing, which was fantastic. Now I'm going to put Aspen on the spot a little bit, because you haven't had an opportunity to really think about your year ahead, but maybe some thoughts. Give us a sneak peek on what you think for the association, what you want to bring to the table, what's going to be your theme. You don't have to spill all the beans, but maybe a little insight.
I've talked about this a lot. I really don't have this year, Melissa's focusing on participation. Mine is more just back end stuff. I just want it to be smooth and just, I like things a certain way whenever it comes to organization. And there's a lot of changes coming this year. So I think just making sure those are implemented fairly. I think I'm going to have enough going on without trying to do some big grand thing.
Sure.
Just being there and just giving 100% with whatever's needed at that time.
This is the thing about it. It's kind of like when you get a call from a survey company, they're like, well, what do you think should be the thing that we do here locally in our community? We've got these things that are pretty, right? And you got the things that are necessary, like replacing plumbing or water lines. And those aren't the sexy.
Not glamorous.
They're not the sexy, glamorous things, but they need to happen to make it function. And that's to your point. That's what we're talking about. You want that back end stuff to be dialed in. So then all the stuff in the front looks good, looks copacetic, works well. Maybe that's your theme.
It was funny because that was kind of my theme too. And that's, you can get a ton done. And I think she has some good ideas. So I'm excited to see what it is.
Yeah. And we won't spill all the beans today.
There's no beans. Nothing's a secret.
Just plain as day. It's no beans to spill. So let's jump into the speed round then. What is the best thing you've experienced while serving as a leader? Shannon, I'm going to kick it off with you. What is the best thing you've experienced as serving as a leader with your local association? Has it been the camaraderie? Has it been the impact? What is it?
Well, probably both, but I really do like digging in and learning more about the back end of the association and just working with other fellow realtors and getting to know them on a deeper level and really understanding, their passions for serving or where we can make a difference. It really is a neat experience. It really is a neat experience just to get out there and just get your hands dirty. Just try something new. Something new and just help out.
Get out of your comfort zone a little bit. Yeah. And it's not just for realtors. I mean, this conversation, we're gearing it around realtors because we're realtors, but it's for anybody out there that if you're feeling like a lack of something, or you're feeling a little bit down, go out and serve. Get on a committee and be a part of something. All of a sudden, your whole perspective changes. I can attest to that. I've had situations where I've been a little bit down in the dumps, but I go to some of these meetings and roll my sleeves up, and I come out on a different high, which is awesome. So, thank you for sharing that, Shannon. Aspen, what is the best thing you've experienced while serving as a leader?
I don't want to give away private information for people, but there was something that it was whenever I was just filling in on the board. Before I was I might have been voted in at that time, actually doing a board position, but I saw something that absolutely I just disagreed with ethically, and I became a very strong advocate for it, and I pushed for 2 years, and it finally just came to fruition, and it's going to really impact not everybody as a whole, but it's going to impact someone that I think in a positive way that should have been done a long time ago. That was really the deciding factor of whenever I accepted and put my name in for president-elect, that was the reason.
So you had a situation that happened that obviously wasn't planned.
Yeah.
And came out of left field, I'm assuming, and you went, whoa, this isn't right. Now I'm going to become an advocate for this.
Mm-hmm. And a very vocal one. And I had some pushback. And then with how as Paul was saying, there's changing, people moving. So it didn't get pushed as far as I would have liked whenever there was certain people in. And then with other people moving around, we were able to get a push through. And maybe that's an agenda, but it wasn't a personal one. So that was kind of my one goal.
Well, and I'll say this, being on the inside of that too, that seeing somebody passionate and advocate for something and stand up for something that, like this topic that I know what she's talking about, is another reason why I'm excited about next year. Yeah. She's completely in the right, and I agreed with her. It was a hard thing to do for a while, and then we were finally able to get some good movement on this topic.
Yeah, and when you talk about agendas, like it's not an agenda, it's a priority, right? And every president, to the president's pleasure, gets to pick their agenda and their priorities, and that's part of it, and that's okay. The agenda that you're referencing is if I come in and I'm with RE/MAX and I try to make rules and regulations that impact or make RE/MAX better, then that's an agenda, right? Mm-hmm. But when we walk into those meetings, we take the personal hats off and we put on our realtor hat. We're all realtor family. So I appreciate you saying that and Paul delineating between the two. So you want to parlay on that a little bit more? What is the best thing you've experienced while serving as a leader, Paul?
The people that I've been able to help become leaders, become better leaders. I have a lot of respect for realtors in this area. One thing, I'll just say that this is the thing that's been hitting me, but we don't get, it's kind of a thankless job, right? You do your time and then you're done. You do some good things maybe, and then it's gone. I had a comment at the end of my presidency, which kind of validated what we were doing. And I always said it was a team thing. We don't do anything alone. It's always a group of people. And they said to me, this year has been the easiest year to be a realtor, not because of production, but because we weren't fighting new rules. We weren't fighting anybody trying to change how we do things. We weren't fighting, we weren't getting in trouble all the time with the board. It was the best board realtor relationship we've ever had. It was very smooth. We got plenty of communication. It was just, it felt seamless. And they said, and I want to thank you because I know that was all you. And I was like, well, it's a team.
Yeah, it's a team.
That's a great compliment.
But I was
It's
like,
a big compliment.
Yeah.
I was like, that was, you don't seek those things out, and that wasn't prompted, and they brought that in. And I was like, it's kind of validation that we were doing something good.
Yeah. Well, and I'll echo that. I mean, I think everyone in this room, we serve not to get accolades, right? We serve, to help. And then accolades and stuff like that come along at some point. But that's not why you're in it. I mean, we're in it to help. And the people that do end up getting the rewards or awards or, any type of notoriety for it are the people that serve without a purpose, right? They serve with the intent to help. And that would be my biggest takeaway is that the impact that we can have as professionals, and again, not just in the real estate community, but, if you're listening to this and you were on the fence about serving with a local committee or on a board, get in there and serve. I mean, the fulfillment that you get on a personal level, and then it parlays into your professional career or whatever you're doing in your life. I mean, there's big rewards there intrinsically that come along with serving. It's pretty awesome to see. And I love the fact that people that have come after me that I've seeded something inspiring in them to want to serve. That's been my biggest takeaway. My biggest woohoo moment is that others behind me have served and made impact all the way along the line. I can't take credit for all of that by any stretch, but I love the fact that maybe at some moment they looked at me and said, hey, that's what he's doing is awesome, and I would love to do that same thing. So that's my takeaway. What a great conversation. I appreciate you all leaning in, and it's leadership, like you said, it can be thankless in a lot of aspects. So we're winding down on time, but I am going to get to my favorite section of the podcast, and that's called the Lyons Pride. And that's where we talk about an entity, an organization, or an individual in our local community that does great things. Because here, obviously, at the Lyons Group, we like to impact our community for the better, and we serve on a lot of different committees and different capacities. And so today, for the Lyons Pride, I would like to highlight the Farmington Connie Mack Host Families. Those families that step up year after year and host those boys that come here to play the tournament in the Connie Mack World Series. We've been doing it for 50 plus years, and we haven't always had host families, but I would say the majority of those years we have. And those families take time, they have money, they invest a lot into those boys while they're here and the families, and we try to make this community, we put it in the best light that we can, so people will want to come back and enjoy this area. And the host families really step up. I mean, we're always excited to see the involvement from our community with that. And I know Casey Snyder, Lindsay Valdez, we've got Andrea Turman. I'm missing one. I apologize. I think I'm missing one. But those ladies that go out there and get the host families together, kudos to you. I just want to say thank you for what you do. Thank you for continuing the host family tradition and all that you've done for our community. And welcome to the Lyons Pride. So thank you for tuning into this episode of The Den. If you like our content, please subscribe to our YouTube channel where we're posting content regularly. Sign up for our newsletter, like our Facebook page. We are putting out content that hopefully is valuable for you as a potential consumer or client. And you can reach out to any one of us and schedule a consultation, a private consultation. We'll sit down whether you're a buyer or seller and talk through some of the ins and outs and give you some next level strategies. So thank you for tuning in. And until the next time, we'll see you at the Den.
Thank you for listening to The Den, powered by the Lyons Group. Hit the subscribe button to keep informed on real estate happenings. If you'd like to learn more about the Lyons Group, visit sjc.com. sjcbroker.com. Complex markets require complex strategies. The Lyons Group can give you a true advantage in any market. Whether you're buying or selling, residential or commercial, contact us directly at sjcbroker.com. We're time-tested experts with a client-first approach, and we'll see you next time in the Den.